Okay. Hello, I'm Brian of London, and I'm here with my friend Andrew Hamilton, CEO of JPB Liberty, and we're talking about the Steam, Tron, Steemit, whatever. What is it? You introduce yourself and let's go.
What is it? I'm Andrew Hamilton. I'm CEO of JPB Liberty. I'm a lawyer, Australian originally, and expert in the crypto space. I've been on Steam myself for over 2 years and in the crypto space for longer than that. What happened? What happened? Like many blockchains, Steemit had a stake mined by the original developer of the blockchain, Steemit Inc. It's called, in Steam parlance, a ninja mined stake. That was supposed to be used for development of the blockchain, onboarding users, things like that. As the blockchain developed and investors came in, promises were made by Steemit Inc. That stake would not be used for governance purposes, it would not vote on witnesses, and that it would be used for the development of the chain. And I understand that there's evidence of this. So really that forms some sort of contract between those investors, many of whom are still around, and Steemit Inc. Time went forward, and some time ago, there was a hard fork in the Steem blockchain that was doing a whole lot of things, and some code was inserted with the agreement of Steemit Inc. to provide a mechanism where the witnesses could shut down the voting rights of this particular Ninja Mine stake. Now, just remember, there's a lot of Ninja Mine stake, but there's a particular one that these promises were made about. Inserted in the blockchain was an ability just to change a little option, and the voting rights, the witness voting rights, governance rights would be suspended. So Steam's moving along, great technology, community building, etc., etc. And one day, Justin Sun comes along and makes a deal with Ned to buy Steemit Inc. Which
Ned was one of the founders. One of the two main founders were Ned Scott and Dan Larimer.
And apparently Ned now had the majority stake or the full stake of Steemit Inc. We've been told that Steemit Inc., the company, was purchased by Justin Sun. Now, when anyone purchases a company, they inherit all the obligations, rights, debts, claims, etc. of that company. The company still exists, it's just got a different owner. But Justin Sun didn't seem to understand this and thought he could just buy the company and pull out the Steem stake that was in it and go off and sell it for profit. He figured, he was buying the company at undervalue of what the Steem was worth. And obviously, Ned didn't tell him that this Ninja Mine stake was both subject to agreements with the community and had stuff in the code itself which made this a restricted stake. Now, this is not unusual. In company law, it's quite common to have shares that don't have voting rights, that don't have governance rights. In fact, when you get an employee share option plan, those shares you get will not have voting rights because they don't want the employees to take over the company generally. It's a common thing in corporate parlance. It's an obvious thing to look for in due diligence, and especially in crypto, where the byword is that code is law. The code is law is you look at the code and see what you're buying. Ultimately, if you're buying a cryptocurrency, what your effective, it's not really necessarily a contract, but the code, the law that governs what you're buying is the code. It's public. It was well known that there was this option in the code for the witnesses to restrict the voting rights.
That's why when after Sun bought the company Steemit, the witnesses were able so very quickly to do a tiny little code change that enforced basically what was a contractual obligation.
Well, it wasn't even a code change. It didn't change the code the blockchain was running. It was just an option. There was just like you just ticked an option under the existing code, restrict voting rights. And Justin should have known this. Ned should have told him. But at the end of the day, Ned sold Justin land on the moon. He sold him something pretending that it was normal Steem, but it was not normal Steem. It was subject to contractual obligations, and it was the code itself enforce those obligations, and the witnesses did precisely what they were supposed to do. This was put in place. The original hard fork that put this code in place was done with Steemit's agreement, because Steemit, it was one of the major voters for all those witnesses, and the blockchain developers that wrote that code were Steem's. I don't know whether the particular code was written by a Steem blockchain developer or by a witness blockchain developer, but the blockchain developers at Steem knew full well that code was in and agreed to having it in. So it was well accepted.
And that's long ago.
So when the circumstances came to pass that there was a change of ownership in Steemit Inc., and there was some doubt as to whether those contractual obligations would be met, the witnesses took preemptive action to preserve the status quo. They didn't destroy Sun's Steem. They didn't take it. They suspended it pending discussions about what he was... So they just froze the voting rights, the witness voting rights of that Ninja Mine stake, pending discussions to preserve the status quo. Now, there's a real question as to whether that Ninja Mine Steem is legitimately able to be sold at all by Steemit Inc., given the contractual arrangements that were made with the original investors. But certainly it's very clear that it was not supposed to be used for witness voting.
A promise in a white paper is a contractual agreement.
Well, the issue is that it's a simple matter of offer acceptance and consideration. People made an offer. Steemit Inc. made an offer to sell Steem to bring in investors. That offer was on certain terms, included certain promises, the investors accepted that offer and paid some form of consideration, money or other cryptocurrencies for that. That forms a contract, and the terms of that contract are, going to be worked out by a court, but they'll most certainly include the terms in the white paper and other promises made. If there were explicit promises made about this, as I understand there were, then it's going to form part of the contract. And it's going to bind Steemit regarding its use of that stake. So there's a real question of whether Ned was entitled. He was entitled to sell Steemit Inc., but whether that stake can ever be moved out of Steemit Inc.'s control, whether it ever can be sold on the market. There's a serious question. Justin Sun thinks he can take that and sell it on the market. I'm not sure he can. And if he tries to, it may well be clawed back by a subsequent legal action. If there's agreement with those original investors, which are represented mostly by the witnesses, he might be able to do something. But if he just tries to sell it, he's going to be probably looking at a legal action. Even if Steemit Inc. itself is an empty shell, there's actions in conversion, taking something that you're not supposed to have, that you can go after other people, and potentially Ned as well, if he's got money out of this, that he should, these misrepresentations. So, that's what happened. That we're talking legally. Then what happened? So let's move on to the next thing. What happened? Justin Sun didn't like the fact that his voting rights were suspended, saw it as a stealing of his funds, which it certainly was not. And then, very interestingly, exercised a crypto attack vector that was previously just theoretical. He got 3 exchanges, Binance, Huobi, and Poloniex, who he controls, to use their users' Steem, their customers' Steem that was supposed to be there available for customer redemptions, to power it up. And by powering it up means locking it into escrow for 90 days, and then used it to vote out all the community elected witnesses and put in place what people are calling Chinese sock puppets. Basically, it's just one server somewhere running 20 witnesses on the one server, and they're not even doing what witnesses are supposed to do. They can't even get their price feed up to date. It was a hostile takeover of Steem. The exchanges of course, they're not US exchanges, and securities law and stuff varies from places to place, but it's fairly clear they breached their ethical and fiduciary duties to their customers. And it seems clear that now they've realized what's happened, they've backed down, and all the other exchanges that didn't do this sort of bad stuff are using it as marketing against them. It's just, an exchange should never power up its steam. It's never justified, because it's always against the customer's interests, because it prevents them being able to get that steam out.
Let's explain this for non-Steam people. The 13-week lock-in, and it's or anybody who's sort of been around on Steam understands this. You power up your Steam, which gives you more voting power, more rights.
Gives you some voting power.
It gives you some voting power. The more you hold, the higher your voting power.
So liquid Steam is just a cryptocurrency trade. It doesn't give you any power or influence or anything on the Steam blockchain. Powered up Steam gives voting power, which is primarily used for voting for posts, and those, depending on the amount of Steam power you've got, your vote is effectively worth money. So you might, when you vote, it might be worth 10 cents, a dollar, 1 cent, $10, depending on how much stake you are. That's the way content is rewarded on the Steam blockchain. It's the purpose of it.
It would distort things massively. For example, if Justin started using his massive stake to upvote people's posts.
That's right.
And he hasn't done that.
That's right. But it also, there's two purposes of voting for content, for selecting good content and rewarding that content with the new Steam that's created all the time by the blockchain, and voting on governance, on witnesses. Witnesses are like elected representatives in a parliament. It's just, it's happening in real time, and the votes are not one man, one vote. They're one Steam, one vote. But they're elected representatives, and they represent community interests, weighted by stake, but nonetheless with tens of thousands of people, real people, not bots, actually voting for them. And we can see in this fight back that's happening by the community right now to kick out Justin Sun's sock puppet witnesses, the enormous community interest. And really, this is unique. I think this has to be said. There is not a single community in crypto that is as active and big and involved as this. Bitcoin, yes, lots of people use Bitcoin and trade it, and it's a very good store of value. But in terms of community activity, the level of community activity way exceeds anything that even happened on all the Bitcoin forks. There's a lot more real people involved and active in this, and this is something unique. This is something very special about Steam.
And some didn't see it. And so last night, let's catch up. Last night there was a meeting between some of the top witnesses who are the most engaged developers for the outside of the Steemit company. And they had a voice meeting with Justin Sun and Justin's business manager or whatever.
They did, but we can just take a step back to what caused that. What caused that is that there was an epic fight back in witness votes by the community. Now, like most communities, a lot of people weren't exercising their vote or weren't fully exercising their vote. And, in any democracy, a lot of people are lazy, and it takes a big issue to get turnout up. The turnout, the percentage of Steam that was actually being voted was perhaps only a third or something of the Steam that could be voted. So there's been a massive get out to vote exercise, fittingly enough on Super Tuesday in the United States and on the day after the Israeli election, which had the highest turnout in 20 years, by the by. A massive get out to vote exercise that is bringing more and more and more people on Steam, who of course are not on it every day, all day, every day, obsessively like perhaps you and I are realising what's gone on and are voting back in the community elective witnesses. It's a fluid situation at the moment. There was 7 back in the top 20. It's now dropped back to 4. It's moving around all the time. Justin is seemingly trying to buy whatever Steam he can. There's very little liquid Steam out there, and recruit some people to vote for him. But the overwhelming majority of the community, perhaps 95, 99%, is voting for the original community witnesses. And I expect this to continue. There's a very deep well of Steemians who haven't voted yet, I don't think there's a very big well for Justin. I think that
meanwhile, the exchanges that powered up are now in deep trouble.
That's
what
right.
Justin had promised them. He had said, "Oh, well, just help me do this, and then I'll change the rules, and I will allow a 3-day power down of this Steam."
But a 3-day power down it just cannot work. The way Steam works is that there's a 7-day window for voting for posts. At the end of 7 days, the votes are tallied and you get rewarded on that. If you had a 3-day power down, what you could do is vote on a post, power down your Steam, transfer it to another account, power it up, vote on the post again, and then do it again. It would lead to massive abuse of the system. It's simply not possible. And changing the blockchain code to change the power down thing goes to the real core. It's complex blockchain development stuff. And guess what? Every blockchain developer, I think, who worked three of the four, everyone who worked for Steemit Inc., they've all resigned in protest. So Justin has no blockchain developers that understand the Steem blockchain. If he tries to do a hard fork, he will end up crashing his chain. The rest of everyone else will fork off and he'll be left with absolutely nothing because he does not know what he's doing and he does not have the technical people. This is complex stuff. Previous hard forks on Steem, when they've been done under the best conditions with all the witnesses and all the blockchain devs, both in Steemit and outside in the community, working very hard to make this work, have still crashed the chain and caused replays and all sorts of things. Message to Justin, don't even try it. You'll just make a total fool of yourself and wreck things. Except that the community has voted. The community wants their witnesses back. But I want to tell you something, Justin. I want to tell you something straight. You didn't know. I believe you. You didn't know that there were all these agreements and that what you bought was not normal Steem. It was very restricted Steem that perhaps can never be sold. You didn't know that. You were perhaps sold a pup. You could have done better due diligence. You should have, but you were sold a pup. You were sold land on the moon when you thought you had land on Earth. Okay. Yes. But there's something else that you bought when you bought Steemit Inc. that's far more valuable than this Ninja Mine stake. Steemit Inc. has a $400 million claim against Facebook and Google for the banning of Steem ads that had a devastating effect on the Steem price and the Steem blockchain. It dropped the price from $6.14 and the highest level of signups to the Steem blockchain, the highest level of posts, the highest level of interaction of everything. It dropped it to the situation that it was today of 18 cents, or even went down as low as 13 cents Steem. There's a massive claim that Steemit Inc. has. It's worth far more than this Ninja Mine stake. And what you should do is join and support this class action. Couple of $1 million.
This is the class action that you and I are working on.
Yes, this is the class action that that Graham and I are working on. We've got law firms lined up. We've got top barristers lined up. We've got initial funding lined up. We've got evidence. Everything's lined up. You've actually bought something that was worth far more than you realized. But you should accept that what you bought came with pros and cons. The con is that the Ninja Mine stake is not yours to sell. The pro is that you've got a massive legal claim against Facebook and Google that is worth $400 million just on the Steem's original stake alone, let alone Steemit's original stake alone, let alone other aspects. So, you're a businessman. You said on the call, you're a businessman. You're interested in money. Good. So do your numbers. What did you pay? $5 million for Steemit Inc. It's got a claim of $400 million. What's the percentage of chance of winning that? Well, it's at least 50%. But even if you say it's only 25%, what would you 25% chance of winning $400 million? Is that worth investing another $1 million or $2 million into? Yes, it is. You're a businessman. Take this opportunity, and it's a win-win for the community because everyone on Steem also has that claim based on their stake. It's a win-win for the community. It's a win-win for you. It compensates you for what you perceive you've lost, and it solves the problem for everybody. Let's move forward in a positive way. Stop spending money trying to take over the blockchain and spend money on something that will bring you 100 times the return, 200 times the return. than what you're spending your money on. That's my message to you.
Yeah, I agree. And thanks very much, Andrew, for explaining everything. And we'll get this video out as fast as I can.
Yeah, thank you.